Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are watching The Right to the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards, fire up your fingers, and come join the conversation. Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are watching The Right of the People. It is Friday, October 9th, 2020 at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So let's have this conversation. I'd like to say hello to everybody out there, but first, let me welcome my esteemed panel. We have the one, the only, the roll call 219. How you doing, sir?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I'm doing all right.
Oh, no problem. Always welcome. Speaking of always welcome, we have the irascible yet lovable Squibload. How you doing?
Doing all right tonight, Budget. Thanks for the invite.
Always, brother. And we also have with us from parts... Where are you from, Seven?
Well, I'm from Ohio, but I live in North Carolina now.
Oh, no. Well, we have a transplanted Buckeye. Seven Wonders. How are you, sir?
Doing pretty well, sir. Thank you for having me on again.
No problem, man. Always welcome. Like to say hello to everybody out there in the chat. Let's see who we got first. Southpaw RX had to bow out. Says his daughter's coming in from college. You know what, man? Family first, period. First, last, and always. Poor conservatives out there. Grim 90, Warsaw Patriot. Who says no matter what, politics will always bother us? Yes, absolutely right. Let's see if anybody else hops in. Only got 10 out there. Wow. Nope. Someone said, screw you guys, I'm going home. And left us. A couple of them did. Wow. Awesome. Anyhow, if you're out there and you haven't sounded off in the chat, please feel free to do so. Even if you disagree with something that I'm talking about, that's not a problem. I do not want to live in an echo chamber. I want to have a conversation. That means it's information that it goes both ways. This is not a lecture, just me talking to you like at television or radio. This is definitely a conversation, so sound off. Just keep it appropriate. I like to keep things at PG-13 at the most, although I will probably get wound up and drop an F-bomb or two. But I'd like to ask everybody to be respectful of each other out there. My mods will handle it, and if they don't, I will. But, yeah, sound off. And if you're not out there in the chat, but you want to sound off in the comments because you're watching this on the replay, please do so. Also, hit that thumbs up button or thumbs down if you think this sucks. Doesn't matter. Engagement's engagement, but I do want the feedback. Coming in the house, we got Gabe Stark, and then Midnight Range TM coming in. Why is Budget talking into a squirrel? Hey, man. Should be open-minded. Anyhow, got a lot going on. Speaking of small furry creatures, the ATF has put the smackdown on the honey badger. Of course, we're not talking about the honey badger don't care, honey badger don't give a shit, honey badger. We're talking about, well, I guess we're really talking about the ATF don't care, ATF don't give a shit, because, you know, despite the fact that they have previously approved the honey badger and pistol braces in general, they've decided that, no, not anymore. Because, you know, they're the ATF and they can do that stuff. This is from internationalsportsman.com. Q Honey Badger pistol now in SBR, according to ATF letter from October 6, 2020. Honey Badger owners could face major fines and criminal penalties if they don't take immediate action to disassemble their pistols after the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives ruled that the popular firearm, manufactured by Q LLC, is actually a short-barreled rifle. Q sent a notice to their customers stating that the ATF issued a cease and desist order that the company immediately halt production of the pistols. The notice lists the possible penalties against honey badger owners if they don't immediately disassemble their pistols and gives immediate steps to take in order to stay compliant with the ATF's ruling. We previously covered how a congressman from Florida is pressuring the ATF on making braces an NFA item. We talked about that as well. Matt Getz from Florida had said that he had some inside info that the ATF was planning to do something like this. Maybe this is what he's talking about. Let's see. Next steps. The penalties and Q's recommendation to Honey Badger owners is as follows. Q encourages possessors of the Honey Badger pistol to take these proactive measures until a resolution is reached between Q and ATF. Number 1, complete one of the following. A, remove the barreled upper receiver from the lower receiver and dedicate it as a replacement for another AR-style pistol or registered short-barreled rifle. Or B, if you do not possess another AR-style pistol or registered short-barreled rifle, remove the barreled upper receiver from the lower receiver and temporarily transfer it out of your possession by, for example, transferring it to the dominion and control of another individual. And once the previous step is completed, you may file an ATF Form 1 to register the lower receiver as a short-barreled rifle. Upon Form 1 approval, the firearm may be reassembled. Failure to complete Option A or Option B could result in prosecution and is subject to a $10,000 fine and up to 10 years of imprisonment. Q hired a law firm, Wiley Rain LLP, to issue a response to the ATF cease and desist order. The response challenges the legality of the ATF's ruling, saying that the decision was capricious, and that it conflicts with a previous determination on using bracing device to create stability when firing the Honey Badger. According to the response letter, the ATF decided that the bracing device is intended to be fired from the shoulder. Q argues that the brace is an orthotic device designed and intended to provide a shooter with the stability to more safely use a heavy firearm, and doesn't meet the historic standards of being a shoulder-fired firearm. The Firearms and Ammunition Technology Division, FAT-D, sounds like a rapper. Yo, Fat D in the house. Has previously concluded on multiple occasions that firearms equipped with similar stabilizing braces are not designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder, Q said in his response letter to the ATF. Moreover, ATF has not promulgated regulations or other publicly available guidance documents that purport to establish a standard upon which such a determination could be based. Even though Q says they plan to fight the ruling, they ask their customers to comply immediately with the steps outlined above to avoid possible criminal penalties. They also urge firearms owners to reach out to the ATF and Department of Justice to protest the ruling. Q takes extreme care to remain in compliance with federal law, and we share your frustration with this development, said Q CEO Adam Johnson. We apologize for this situation and want to assure you that we, in conjunction with SB Tactical and the National Rifle Association, are doing everything in our power to resolve this matter amicably for all parties involved. It remains to be seen how this will affect all pistol braces. It could set a precedent for classifying all braces as NFA items, much like the bump stock ruling. Or it could be that this only affects Q since the brace is proprietary to the Honey Badger. Based on the statement from the ATF, the ruling could be in how Q is advertising the products. Then it has a highlight section of the letter, which says, based on the product description on your website, ATF believes these firearms are designed and intended to be fired from the shoulder and may be classified as a short-barreled rifle under the GCA and NFA. Since the ATF requires each manufacturer to submit a letter for approval for each brace, it could be limited. Of course, it could be just the first step. It could be just the opening salvo in a greater effort to get rid of pistol braces. Or, and I've heard this theory advanced, that it's rogue elements within the ATF appointed by Obama deciding that they wanted to do this as an October surprise to get gun owners pissed off at Trump and not vote for him. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is much ado about nothing? Do you think this is an egregious overreach by a unelected bureaucracy? Do you think this is the deep state planning to screw Trump? What do you think's going on here? Open floor, whoever.
Yeah, the timing is kind of suspicious, but I'm not Mr. Tinfoil Hat. All of those reasons are all plausible. If this is specifically about this firearm and not braces, then it's an issue with that company and they got to resolve it, like any company would. If it's about shouldering a pistol brace, then they need to go back and solidify their previous ruling they keep flip-flopping on, saying you can have it, just don't shoulder it. It's one or the other, but both doesn't, they conflict. And there's plenty of people out there that, oh, well, I want to be able to do this, I want to be able to do that. Okay, I get that, all right? I'm not saying I don't think you should. I really don't care. I don't like AR pistols, so I don't care if you own one. I don't care if you put it in your shoulder, your forehead, or up your asshole. I don't, okay? But that should be your right to do that.
That would be a little uncomfortable.
Well, I don't know. But you paid for that thing, so what's the difference? The brace was designed for people with a handicap, and you shouldn't say, well, only handicapped people should be able to use them. Because then it's like, okay, great. So you're saying it's illegal for me to own a wheelchair or crutches even if I don't need one or whatever. And from that standpoint, I get that. The fact that it's conflicting, it's confusing, they can't make up their mind, and they're saying just, they're limiting something about the design or something else that is specific to that company, then it's up to that company to deal with it the way they would deal with a lawsuit or anything else. So I would like more information before I just started thinking it was this or assuming it was that or it's got to be this. But the timing is suspicious.
I threw a link out there in the chat to an NRA website where you can fill out a form letter to contact the ATF about this. I would also urge everyone to contact your Congress critters and elected representatives about this stuff. And, you're going to have to figure out who those are for you. And let your voice be heard. As I say every week at the end, send them a snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, semaphore, smoke signals, heliograph, anything you have to do to let them know what you think. But I digress. Let me get the opinions of the rest of the panel. Do any of you differ substantially from Squibb, or are you guys in agreement with him?
Oddly, for the third time this month, I've agreed with Squibb. So, yeah. I don't know enough about it to make a definitive opinion. So, yeah, I'm kind of like with Squibb on this one for sure.
Ro?
1 second. Hold on real quick.
Sure.
Well, to tell you the truth, man, the ATF has had their foot in the door about certain issues for quite some time now. This is another misstep. I blame the gun owners. When are gun owners going to step up and say, you know what? We should have done more. We should talk more. We should communicate more. We should stop fighting more. We should stop doing everything that we're doing and be like, look, it's time for the ATF to really suffer a consequence for their actions. They are literally making laws. That's not their job. Their job is to enforce laws, not to make laws. And I throw it in the same category. I know people don't like bump stocks, and I totally get that. I had one just to have one, just because they were saying I couldn't have one. It was just a defiance thing. But yet you had people out in the community say, well, it's stupid. It's dumb. Who cares? And they banned it. Well, if we're going to take the same course of action of pistol braces, they're stupid. Who cares? They're going to ban them. And then they're going to come for every pistol brace. And let me tell you, SB Tactical makes tons of braces for tons of guns.
There are millions of them out there.
Millions. So you're talking about making a populace of millions of people in this niche, in this firearms community, or whatever you want to call it, gun culture, felons overnight, because people are doing what they want in that agency. And I stress to you, some people will say, well, I lost it in a boating accident. Well, I lost it in this. Well, guess what? Your 4473s, if you've bought one now or when this was enforced, and if you bought any kind of gun like this on your 4473, it's right above your name. And they're going to go there and they're going to get it.
And even if you didn't buy one, if you build it or you bought the brace yourself to add it to on your own, and you didn't buy it with a complete firearm. Remember, folks, what they did with Ares Armor back when they were selling their 80% lowers that had a different color plastic in it to show you where the pocket should be. And they went and they reclassified that, and they raided Aries Armor's offices and got all their customer lists. You don't think they'll do that with this? They'll track you through your credit cards. They'll track you through customer lists, et cetera, et cetera. And they'll know who has braces and who doesn't. And they'll come knocking on your door.
Exactly. And I'm telling you, if we do not pay attention to this stuff, I mean, for crying out loud, a senator just came out months ago and said, look, the ATF's trying to do some dirty stuff. Whether it was about this or not, it was about braces in particular in his little letter that he addressed and put in front of national news sources. So, I mean, I'm getting really kind of tired of the same attitude that the gun culture is getting. And, you know, they've already had their foot in the door about this stuff one way or the other. And if we don't stop, you know, bickering about amongst each other, this is going to become a bigger problem. Then they're going to start looking at other things. Then they're going to start wanting to ban other things if we don't stop these people from doing what they're doing. And I've always said this, the people in that office, these people are Obama holdovers.
Yep.
These people should have been gone. They should have been out of there. But no, they held on. And this is what you get. The left has always tried to pick off gun owners one small paper cut at a time. And this is how they do it. And they continuously do it. And I don't know why people don't understand this. I don't know why they can't comprehend this. It's infuriating to me to see these people start making their own laws. This is not how this country was founded. It's not how this country is based, and it's not how this country works. And it's disgusting. And they've been doing this for quite some time. You know,
and that's my feelings on the matter. You know, and I said this when they did the same thing to bump stocks. They reversed previous rulings. Oh yeah, it's okay. No, now it's not. Now overnight it's a machine gun, and tough shit. Get rid of them all. It is a gross overreach of regulatory power by an unelected bureaucracy. They wrote, and actually with the bump stocks, they rewrote federal law without enacting legislation. And in this case, they're doing the same thing. Do you really believe that if this goes unopposed, they're going to stop here? Do you not think that they're going to go for something else? They'll go for the next low-hanging fruit. They'll go for binary triggers next, or any other trigger devices. They'll go for those next for sure. But then, don't you think, particularly if it's a Biden-Harris presidency, that they're going to go for something else, like, say, maybe they will redefine machine gun to mean any weapon capable of accepting magazines greater than 10 rounds. They can do that. They did. They redefined machine gun to mean a piece of fucking plastic with no moving parts. So they can damn sure do it to include any that can accept a detachable magazine. So, you know, the whole cliche of it's the camel's nose under the tent fits. You know, it's something that we have to, regardless of whether or not we give a shit about pistol braces. I happen to own three firearms with them. Whether or not we give a shit about that, we need to oppose this on principle because of where it'll go next. And it will go somewhere next.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely agree with you on that. I mean, I never owned a bump stock, never really wanted to own one. But I did a letter to Trump, and I did a video about it, if anybody cares to watch. But, yeah, I mean, it's the principle of the matter. You know, they're trying to take away our rights little by little. And yeah, it's wrong any way you look at it.
Well, I want to throw this in there. You know, during the bump stock fiasco, you were able to put in a public comment if you wanted to on their website.
They didn't even bother with that shit now.
They sidestepped that.
Yep.
So when people are saying, who do I complain to? Nobody, because they made a prejudgment to do this, and then they cite, I forgot what it was called, the APA or something, or I can't remember what it's called, but they sidestep that. So
Yeah.
you know who you complain to? You cannot complain to anybody. Now you have to take the time to go and bitch and complain to your senator and your representatives. They sidestepped that. They knew they were going to do this. So when I say that they're serious about this, they're serious about it, especially when they cut out the part where you can't complain about it because they're
Yep.
being negligent on that aspect.
ATF don't care. ATF don't give a shit. It's how it is.
So let me ask this naive question. If the ATF falls underneath the executive branch of the government and the President of the United States is the chief executive, why can't he just walk in there and fire all of them?
He should.
No, but why can't he?
Because he's got COVID. He's dealing with this. Nancy Pelosi is trying to invoke the 25th Amendment. He doesn't care about gun owners because he's not pro 2A. Point and simple.
Civil service protections. It's damn hard. It's damn hard to fire a government employee. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you it doesn't matter. I'm telling you there are laws in place that offer civil service protections. It is damn hard to fire a government employee. I know. I is one. With the feds, it's even worse.
Yeah, well, that don't fly when you're in the military.
Yes, I understand this, but we're not talking about the
it
military.
would have been great to have a union. So here's okay. So, but the reason I phrased it as this is a naive question is because you got Joe Bunkstock out there going, well, hell, he didn't want to stand for my Bunkstock, and he said take the guns and due process later. Now he take my damn pistol brace. I ain't gonna vote for that son of a bitch. I'm going to throw my vote away.
And that is precisely what the antis are wanting.
I mean, between the ballots in the creek and the dumpster and the mail-in voting and the biased media and the BS fact-checking, now we got this. They're looking to shave away every single vote, even if they've got to do it one vote at a time. They're looking to shave away because they're desperate. They're terrified. What happened before, I thought for sure Hillary was going to win this, and he crushed her. And they're terrified. And instead of, for the past 4 years, doing what we want so that we like them, they want to keep doing what they want, but they want to vilify him so that we don't show up to vote or we throw our vote away with a third party. And it's in this case, it's gonna work. I've heard some people on YouTube, and they're nope. After the Bunkstock thing, he ain't getting my vote again. And it's like, all right, dude. So if Biden gets in and he does turn, 10-round magazine limits, make it the thing, across the nation, or you've got to go register your AR-15 and your semi-auto AK. I don't want to hear you make a YouTube video bitching about it because you helped make it. And then you got the people who go, well, don't say that Donald Trump's the lesser of two evils because you're going to turn away people. But he really is. Unfortunately, he is. Who's going to fuck you? They're both going to fuck you. Who's going to fuck you harder? Biden. Okay? Donald Trump will at least whisper in your ear before he does it. All right?
Hey, Squib. Joe will sniff you first. Give him credit.
Regardless, I'm just not that naive to believe that one is the savior, or that he's the devil. But he's the best we got. I know we deserve better. I'd like to see better, but we don't have better. It's that or nothing.
No, I've said before, Donald Trump is not pro 2A as we understand it. To him, he's pro Second Amendment because he's a New York Republican. He's from that area, and not wanting to take every single gun ever is pro 2A to them. There are exceptions like the wonderful Rob D, New York Outcast, which is probably why he is an outcast, because he is actually pro 2A. But, it's you're right. It's not that Donald J. Trump is the savior. He is not. But he sure as shit beats the alternative. And that's, I mean, look at the alternative that we have. We have this election cycle. We have Joe Biden, who is one dementia case away from not being at the reins, which will leave Kamala Harris there, which is what this whole 25th Amendment thing is about. It's not aimed at Trump. It's aimed at Biden. They're setting up so that they can take Biden out, because the vice president is the one that has to start that process. Mike Pence won't do it. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, you know damn well she'll cut Joe's throat in a heartbeat and step over his still kicking corpse. So that's what this all is being set up for. So remember, this is the woman that said that if Congress doesn't act to impose gun control within the first 100 days, she'll do it by executive action. So that's what you need to vote for, or flat out against in this election cycle. Yes, Donald Trump directed the ATF to take the bump stocks. Yes, he said about due process and whatnot, take the guns first, due process later, when referring to people that were dangerous, not the rest of us. But again, we understand where that leads. He don't. He's not a gun guy. He never has been, never will be. But, you know, we have that shit. But against Kamala Harris, who will take your shit, period, who will enact an executive order, who will push for legislation with the complicity of the entire Democrat Party, both the House if they retain it and the Senate if they take it, which historically the ones that win the presidency keep or win the Senate. So if they have the White House, the House, and the Senate, you can kiss your fucking guns goodbye, period. They will do everything they can to take it. So don't think for a second that I'm mad at Trump because he wants to take my pistol braces and he done took my bump stock, so fuck him, I ain't voting for him. Don't think for a second that that's not just sheer fucking idiocy when it comes to the vote this year.
And I want to throw this on the topic. This ruling came from a field agent. This didn't come from a director. This didn't come from anybody that's on the upper echelon of the ivory tower. This came from a douchebag that's a field agent that probably just tracks down stolen guns. That's it. This guy has really no relevance other than that. And that should scare the shit out of you when people that aren't in your this is like your coworker firing you.
Blue Steel 44, I said throat.
To fire you.
But she would probably cut him there too. Sorry, Ro.
I'm just saying, you know, this is like a customer coming into your work and saying you're fired, leave. This is what the premise is. This is somebody that has little to zero credibility in the agency, but to do a specific job, not to make law and not to rule.
And
this
that
come from the top.
And that is why we, all of us, everybody watching this, everybody who hears these words, we need to contact our representatives. We need to contact our senators. We need to contact our representative. We need to contact the president. Write him a letter, write him an email, send him tweets. We know he pays attention to tweets. He might even see yours. He's on that damn thing all the time when he's bored. So raise holy hell to get them to hear that, hey, this is going on and this is some bullshit. You need to do something about it.
And I know that some of the things I say have pissed some people off, and that's not the point. The point is, I'm just not going to be nice about it. There's too many people in the community that are all, oh no, you can't talk like that, you'll lose people. Well, then fuck them. They don't have the balls to fight for the Second Amendment. If they can't handle me, how are they going to handle these politicians and other stuff? The thing is, even if I don't like your toy or accessory or whatever it is, it doesn't mean I don't fight for it. When I pay those memberships to the gun rights organizations, I'm fighting for your toy. When I show up to the rally, I'm fighting for your toy. When I'm on these shows, I'm fighting for your toy. when I wrote my letter to the ATF about the bump stock, and I didn't just use a form letter, I actually wrote one, and I didn't write one of the ones like the rest of you pissed off assholes did. The Gun Collective did a show, and they got a hold of the results. And when they did the write-in twice, there were lots of people that were against them.
Yep.
They weren't pro-Second Amendment people, but they were pro-2A people making threats and doing other stuff. You
That's
did
just dumb.
yourself in. You did yourself. I wrote one that I thought was kind of, well said, and tried not to make it too long, and no threats, no negative, no nothing. So don't say, he don't care, he's a FUD. I've had people say that bullshit to me. I've been in this fight for a couple decades. I've seen wins, I've seen losses. I can't stand it when people say, we got it worse off than we did 20 years ago. Bullshit. We actually have it better in some cases. You just are too blind to see it. But it can get worse, and some things are worse. And they can get worse. But I've seen stuff go and come and go and come. I've seen us push back and win. I've seen us fall back and fail. And I think there's a lot of people out there that just haven't been in the fight long enough, and they don't have any perspective. Or their fight is their little bubble. It's the guns that they like, and it's the place they live in. And I get that. Because can I vote in another state? No, I can't. But there are things we can do. Kingpin says this all the time. Don't let your state turn into Maryland. Yep. It's a good thing to have these people in these other states telling us this is what they did and this is how they took it, so that you know what to look for if they try to do it in your state. At the national level, we're not always going to agree. But I think that when we disagree, we bring ideas out. So even when I'm there saying things that people in the audience don't agree with, or things in my videos where I get these negative comments where people call me a FUD, I think that they're not out there doing anything, for one. And the other thing is, I just don't think they have perspective. You really got to look at the wins and losses and how things work. That's kind of why I want the Poor Conservative to do his politics show, so you learn how things work in Washington. If we can learn more about how things work behind the scenes, maybe we can be more effective.
Tata's out there says this isn't the usual family-friendly stream. Yeah, I know. We that kind of got threw out the window here, didn't it? It was going to get ad-limited anyway, but hey.
I should have talked about Donald Trump and Joe Biden, backdoor action. I probably should have said something else, I guess, but I don't know. I was ticked off. I was irascible.
Yes, somewhat. Hey, looks like we got Pickle joining us. How you doing there? Hello?
If I can get the right button.
There you go.
Doing all right. That's for sorry I'm late.
Oh, no problem, man. No problem.
And I want to build on what Squib just said. When I went to the Gun Rights Policy Conference in Chicago, and they put forth, what was it, HB 58R or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Whatever it was. There was different elements that were in that bill that were put into place in states. So if you don't think that they're doing this on purpose, you're a fool. I feel sorry for you, and you're probably going to learn a valuable lesson. I learned so much just from sitting there all day and all night and listening and watching what these people that are battling on the front lines, not me who sits at home, goes to work, makes videos, shoots targets. These people are actually fighting the fight. And when they've drawn out that plan of, look, this is what they're gunning for. This is what they're trying to implement. And you got the safe storage laws. You got your red flag laws. All that stuff was in that bill. So if you think Squib is lying, or you think I'm lying, or this is just a game, it's not a game. They are doing this on purpose, and they're implementing it. So if you don't think it can happen in your state, sit home. Don't go to rallies. Just do what you do normally. But when the shit rolls downhill and they stick it on you, and your representative that you didn't write your letter to, or you didn't make a comment, or you didn't complain to, puts it into law, I'm not going to feel sorry for you.
Or when you don't show up to the polls to vote, or you throw your vote away, it's the same thing.
Yep.
We would love to have the perfect scenario, but it's going to take a lot of work. I did a video about getting tired. I've had times where I've been so fed up with stuff that I've had to take a break from this. But I made sure I didn't take the break too long and then fell out of the fight altogether. There are those of you out there who just got in the fight yesterday. If you're already tired, then you lack what it takes, because this is a lifetime fight. It's never going to be over. There are people out there that seem to think we can elect one politician or make one ruling or get one Supreme Court justice or one this or one that, and then it's all over, like some movie would have a big battle at the end and then the empire's defeated. All right, it's not that simple, people. It's not that simple. We want you in the fight, and we want you in the fight for the long run. But you got to understand that there's strategy involved, and like I said before, our differences can help us bring out good ideas. We can use them against us, or we can use them, for us. So I think the open discussion is a good thing, and people are going to do whatever they do. At least you're in the fight. Even if we don't do the same thing, you're in the fight.
In case you didn't catch it on the camera, there, guy that comments, Rockstar Pure Zero, grape, even. He wanted to know what I was drinking. Yeah. We need to be in this, people. We need to get out and vote this year in November. You need to get out and vote. And I'm not talking do an absentee ballot unless you absolutely have to. I'm talking about get up, go to your polling place, go to your board of elections if you have to, wherever it is. Get in there, cast your vote, and make sure that it's counted and you cross all your T's and dot all your I's. Because this is a critical one. This may be the most important one in our lifetime so far. Because we can't rely on the NRA to do this for us because, well, historically they have had a pretty piss poor record of that, and that's only going to get harder because you know what? Right now, they're certainly not making it. I think it was 7 that said in the chat that Lapierre and his cronies have pretty much made the NRA useless for us, for our fight. And you're absolutely right. Here is a piece. Excuse me, if I can ever close this damn ad. There you go. Here's a piece from nationalreview.com. NRA head Wayne Lapierre under IRS investigation for tax fraud. Before I do that, though, we got 31 out there watching. Thank you for coming out and paying attention to this. And, you could be doing anything else, but you're here. So thank you very much. If you like what you're watching, please hit that thumbs up. It helps YouTube know that maybe they need to spread the joy and recommend this to people. So I appreciate it. Anyhow, Wayne Lapierre under IRS investigation for tax fraud by Zachary Evans, October 5th, 2020. The Internal Revenue Service is investigating National Rifle Association CEO Wayne Lapierre for possible criminal tax fraud, the Wall Street Journal reported on Monday. New York Attorney General Letitia James filed suit against the NRA in August, seeking to dissolve the organization and accusing Lapierre and other senior members of repeated fraud stretching back decades. When asked at a press conference whether she believed Lapierre evaded reporting personal taxes, James said she had contacted the IRS regarding the issue. Lapierre's attorney did not immediately respond to the Journal's request for comment. An outside lawyer for the NRA said the organization was willing to cooperate with the investigation. The NRA is not aware of any IRS inquiry, but, of course, will fully cooperate with any appropriate requests for assistance, said William A. Brewer III. In August, James alleged that the NRA was fraught with fraud and abuse and that the organization went unchecked for decades while top executives funneled millions into their own pockets. The NRA vowed to fight the lawsuit. That this was a baseless, premeditated attack on our organization and the Second Amendment freedoms it fights to defend, NRA President Carolyn Meadows said at the time. It is a transparent attempt to score political points and attack the leading voice in opposition to the leftist agenda. President Trump commented on the lawsuit, "I think the NRA should just move to Texas and live a great and beautiful life." So, okay. So what does this have to do with the IRS? That's talking about the Letitia James's stuff in New York. Said she's contacted the IRS, and what the hell? So we'll see. It looks like the NRA's Wonder Boy there, Wayne, Bruce, what is it you call him? Bruce Wayne Lapierre?
Bruce
Mike.
Wayne Lapierre, because he looks like Adam West.
Oh, my Lord, you're right. Well, it looks like he may be getting investigated for tax fraud. Good.
I agree.
I think that the sooner Lapierre gets out of there, even if the feds have to take him and haul him off to the Hooskow, the better it is for the rest of us. Sure, that'll do some damage in the short term, but long term, he needs to go.
No doubt. I don't want to destroy or dismantle or outlaw the NRA, but I think Wayne and all the other executives need to go. I think the NRA needs to restructure such that the leaders cannot become millionaires and get ridiculous salaries and $45,000 a year clothing allowances. You know, we need to have people in there who actually give a shit about the Second Amendment, you know, like, you know, it was intended to be. But yeah, it's gotten way out of control. If anybody argues that, then I'm just not paying attention.
Warsaw Patriot says that he thinks Wayne LaPierre reminds him of Jimmy Hoffa.
No. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the suits. I don't care about the sex pad. I don't care about any of that stuff. But I do think it would be good if the members had more ability to vote, to make a difference. This is an organization. I understand. It's really a lobby group. That's what it really is. That's not the way it started out. It's a lobby organization. But I think if the members had more say and the board could do more to get rid of these people, if they give them term limits, I don't think you're going to get anybody who can hobnob with the politicians. But term limits would be a good idea, too. I mean, there's a lot of things that they could do to restructure it to make the NRA something everybody wants to be a part of. But the reality is, I think they're just going to use this like they've used so many other things to get pity money from all the rich funds out there.
Yeah, that's a valid concern, and I understand. But
Wayne needs your help, and you're entered in the sweepstake for this piece of shit Glock.
Right?
Hey!
No, I mean, they definitely need to restructure, and yeah, Squib, yeah, I know you don't care about the money and the suits and all that, but I do. I think they're wasting way too much of
Dude, if you
our
think
money.
your $25 a year membership paid for any of that, you're lying to yourself. Yeah, that doesn't go to shit, dude. That goes to their toilet paper.
No, I understand what you're saying, man, but there are people, lots of people who donate a lot more than a typical membership, you know?
Yeah.
And they don't realize they're wasting their money. They're just giving it to the Wayne and his entourage instead of, I mean, you know, if they want to make the ILA a different branch completely and educate people on what the difference is, then, yeah, I think a lot of people will donate to the ILA instead of the NRA, but, yeah, it's just, you know, it's ridiculous at this point.
Or the training division.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, that's good as well. But I mean, you know, right now they're not really doing much good for any of us. You know, the way
And Squib, that's your personally. I can't speak for everyone else, but personally, I don't care if that my membership goes to paying for the toilet paper or the suits. That $45K a year for clothing is $45K a year they could be putting towards, either the training or something else useful. Just like all the other money they're throwing away on ridiculous stuff could be, because I'm trying to actually be a little bit PC here, could be being used for much better purposes.
You don't show up on Capitol Hill wearing a suit that you bought at Kohl's.
That is a good point.
You wanna rub elbows with these guys, you've got to be just as slick and dirty as them. But I don't want that person as the head of our organization. Then we're never going to be the bad guys that they have to fight. It's a necessary evil. Well, it's wrong what he does with this, but I don't think he could better do. Yeah, you're right. So could these politicians. These politicians that keep getting reelected, they get all these kickbacks, and they get, what do they do with all the campaign money they raise that they don't spend? They keep it. They do all these dirty, underhanded things. So how do you deal with dirty, underhanded people? You get a dirty, underhanded politician to work for you. And that's what Wayne LaPierre is. He's a dirty, underhanded politician. My issue is that he doesn't do what most of the members want, like our politicians. So why can't he listen to us and then go to Washington and be the scumbag? Wine and dine these other politicians, shop in the same stores, go to the same places, laugh about how he spends his members' money, the way they laugh about how they spend our tax dollars. But when he's got their ear, he's telling them what we want to do. That's who we need in the NRA. We need a scumbag who listens to us. That's what we really need.
Unfortunately, the scumbag we have doesn't, and that's why he needs to go.
And a scumbag won't. I don't care, what scumbag it is. That's part of why they're a scumbag. But that's where maybe you do need to have one or two, snake oil salesmen to rub elbows with the sleaze bags there on Capitol Hill. Although I have I don't want to say it public because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I have a slightly different theory on how you can deal with a sleazebag politician, but different topic.
Yeah.
That's with as much money as they throw away every year, there is much better things that they could be using that money for.
Absolutely. Now, Pickle, I know what you're saying, man, and unfortunately, yeah, they're just squandering it instead of doing what they say they do.
Yeah, I think Wayne's wardrobe money could be spent better elsewhere, but it just is what it is at this point. Speaking of wardrobes, I think Squib might want to change his avatar in case he gets mistaken for our next topic.
Uh-oh.
Because the St. Louis grand jury indicts the McCloskeys on gun charges and tampering with evidence. From KSDK.com from October 6th by Christine Byers. A St. Louis grand jury has indicted Mark and Patricia McCloskey on 2 counts each, exhibiting a weapon and tampering with evidence. The couple appeared before a judge Tuesday who continued their hearing until October 14th, saying the grand jury needed more time to deliberate. The couple's attorney, Joel Schwartz, said that he was told the grand jury reached a decision to indict his clients Tuesday afternoon. Their cases have been assigned to Judges Michael Stelzer and Thomas Clark. The next step will be arraignments, where the McCloskeys will enter a plea to the charges issued against them. The indictment means prosecutors convinced a grand jury they have enough evidence against the McCloskeys to proceed to trial. Governor Mike Parson has said he would pardon the McCloskeys should they be convicted. St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kimberly Gardner originally issued charges against them for unlawful use of a weapon, a felony. The grand jury added the charge of tampering with evidence. Only prosecutors are allowed to present evidence to grand juries, and they are secret proceedings. Gardner's office has not yet responded to a request for comment, so it's unclear what is at the center of that charge. Patricia McCloskey told police the handgun she used during the June 28th confrontation was inoperable because she had used it as a prop during a trial against a gun manufacturer. 5 on Your Side obtained documents showing Gardner's assistant circuit attorney Chris Hinckley ordered the crime lab workers to fix the gun so it could be fired. A key component of Missouri law states that a gun must be readily capable of lethal use in order for someone to be charged with the crime. Hinckley signed the court document, known as the complaint, saying the weapon was capable of lethal use. 5 on Your Side reported about the tension between the lead detective on the case, Sergeant Curtis Bergdorf, and Hinckley over the wording of the court document known as the probable cause statement. Bergdorf sent a list of multiple concerns he had with the way Hinckley wrote the document and refused to sign it until the concerns were addressed. 5 on Your Side has learned Bergdorf was not among the witnesses prosecutors called to testify before the grand jury, but some of the protesters accused of trespassing on the McCloskeys' property during the confrontation did testify. City attorneys for St. Louis refused to charge 9 protesters who were ticketed for trespassing after members of the Portland Place trustees said they did not want to press charges against them. Following Tuesday's hearing, the McCloskeys' attorney said his clients owned the sidewalk in front of the home and that they and other members of the Homeowners Association were never subpoenaed by the city. They absolutely would have liked to press charges, Schwartz said of his clients. So there you have it, folks. The McCloskeys have been indicted by a grand jury. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything because it has been said that a competent prosecutor can get an indictment on a ham sandwich if they really want to. But it's indicative of what we're seeing. I think this is and I've said it before, so this should come as no surprise to longtime listeners / viewers of the show, that this is nothing more than a politically motivated prosecution. It's punishing someone for defending themselves against the crowd and against the mob and against the useful idiots of the left. We've seen this before. I forget what city it was in, but the guy that was inside his own home with a firearm got arrested for having that firearm in his hands when the mob was outside. And then, of course, there's the politically motivated prosecution to beat all politically motivated prosecutions. Kyle Rittenhouse's ordeal that he's going through. So, yeah, I think the message from the left is, don't you dare defend yourself.
Right.
That's
I mean,
where, sorry, Seven.
that's all right, man. I was just going to say the McCloskeys are lefty attorneys, so I don't back them politically, and obviously don't back their gun skills, in quotes, because, yeah, that was ridiculous.
Hey, we were all there at one point, though. So we did not spring forth fully formed John Wick style. We had to learn too.
I do support the right to defend themselves, so there's that. But yeah, I really don't think this is going anywhere. I think they're gonna end up not spending any time in prison, so to speak. Yeah, I guess that's it. I mean, we already know what she had. What, a Jennings or a Jimenez? One of them.
I think it was a Jimenez.
Yeah,
something.
even with the firing pin in, it's not that dangerous. But yeah, I don't dispute the possibility that they use that in a case. But then again, like I started with, they're lefty, anti-gun folks anyway. But
I wonder if their opinion has changed now.
Yeah, right.
That's where, with the whole charge of tampering with evidence, that's where, in any of the articles that anybody read, have they, has it been come up as to when or what year they used that Jimenez as a prop in the courtroom?
I don't know.
Because that's where, from what as I understood it, it predated this incident, and it was so it had been non-operable for some time, and they knew it was non-operable when she carried it outside. So if anybody was tampering with evidence, it would be the prosecutor and the crime lab reassembling it in a way that it was not in during the quote-unquote committal of the crime, in order to make it into something that it wasn't previously. Right. I mean, heck, that's where, if you're going to start using that kind of mentality, well, why don't we all just charge budget with a crime, and that's where have Squib run out and buy all the parts and assemble an AR, so that way the prosecutor can use that AR to say that budget committed a crime with it. It's the same thing.
Let's not charge budget with a crime. Thank you.
But you get the point I'm making. That's where it makes about as much sense.
No,
unless the crime is being too damn awesome.
I think. Right.
I'm already worried about getting charged with a fashion crime wearing that tactical salmon.
Yeah, Squib, if I were you, I'd be more worried about getting roped in with the your local militia group than anything but the salmon.
Yeah, Pickle, I know what you're saying, though. I think...
Yeah, by the way, I was glad to find out that you were not, in fact, involved in the plot to kidnap Whitmer. I was kind of worried.
Yeah, see, that's kind of the whole... There's all these militias in Michigan, and all these rednecks are running around with their body armor and guns ready to go to war. And dude, there's like 2 people in the state that are like that. It's the national news, like anything else in Michigan, is blown it up. They don't even know where Michigan is. So it's it's kind of like Pickle. You guys have wildfires every year, and every year they act like there's never been a fire in California before. Or Seven, living down in North Carolina, you guys get hurricanes every year, and every time it's the worst hurricane ever. They've never had one like that. It's like whatever.
Squib, our hurricanes are Trump's fault, though.
Well, yeah.
But
Orange Man bad.
I remember after the Oklahoma City thing, our name was Mud because of the Michigan militia. And it's like, everybody seemed to think that everybody in Michigan had a relative in this, and everybody was like a reserve member of it. And it says, no, this is a bunch of guys up in the thumb hanging out at somebody's farm, blowing up stuff, and thinking they're all wannabe military people, and they're not. And then one of them decided to go rogue and go do this thing, and it was a black eye for the state. So this is going to be a black eye for the state for a while too, because everybody's, oh, I better watch out. You guys are all whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
at
least your black eye for the state is, random people in the population. The black eye from my state is the Speaker of the House.
Well, yeah.
Don't forget your
No
governor.
kidding. But by the way, guys, I don't know if you saw it. I saw an interview from the supposed leader of this group that wanted to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. And he very, very clearly hates Trump. I mean, I saw the vast majority of his interview was just putting down Trump. Yet, go figure, the mainstream media is saying that they are a white supremacist group, which I'm pretty sure Gretchen's white, isn't she? I don't know.
There are lots of lefties in the state who don't like her, but they would vote for her if she was on the ballot again. And there are lots of people on the right who don't like her, but they comply with her orders because they're terrified of what she might do to them and stuff like that. So it's not quite that simple. Even though I have a video coming out making fun of that, it's just these extremists are. I mean, it was like in the debate. They were saying that the people doing the rioting were pro-Trump. It's like, what? Are you kidding? Seriously?
I know.
It's like, no, all the right-wing people are at work and they're paying their taxes. It's a bunch of these lefties that are setting Portland on fire. So yeah, it's just perception, and it's the way the media. But I mean, I went through this before with Timothy McVeigh, so I'll just deal with the jokes and all the other shit for a while.
Hey, I want to address something in the chat since I am a moderator. For Warsaw Patriot, that's cool that you can call people FUDs and talk shit about the NRA all the time, but this is directed at you. Then you should sell every gun that you have because they all pay the NRA to be at the NRA show. Not only that, there are certain organizations that you're still a part of, besides the one you just canceled, that were at the NRA show that paid the NRA money. So that's just null and void. We understand that. We get it. But you should sell every gun because all those manufacturers paid the NRA to be at that show.
By the way.
All right.
By the way, you're incorrect about the whole USCCA supporting the NRA thing. After the NRA kicked the USCCA out of the NRA show because they launched their competing carry guard insurance. So since then, the USCCA at least says screw you NRA. Just saying.
But I think he's talking about all the other vendors that were there.
Yeah.
And that are there every year.
All the other vendors are there every year. You're right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's null and void. It's null and void to that point. So crying about the NRA isn't going to do anybody any good. I don't care. But when you start just calling people FUDs because that's their premise, then you should sell every firearm that you had. Because SIG was there, because Glock was there, because every gun manufacturer was at the NRA show, and they all paid the NRA to have a booth.
Hell,
so it doesn't matter who you support. You're not going to jump that. You're not going to jump that shit.
We were there. I was there.
Bro, they weren't there to support the NRA.
We were there. There were accessory manufacturers there. There were ammunition manufacturers there. There were training people there. There was everything you could think of there.
Yep.
And there are lots of people that say, I don't want to join the NRA, or I only join just so I can go to the show or whatever, and that's their choice. And then there are other people that are lifetime members, and it doesn't matter, and that's their choice. Everybody contributes in one way or another.
True, but I mean, do you guys really believe the gun manufacturers and accessory manufacturers and sellers were there to support the NRA. Fuck no, they were. I'm sorry, budget. They were not there.
They're there to promote their own
NRA.
shit to everybody who was there.
They're there to promote their own goods, man, and it's a good opportunity because there's going to be thousands of people there. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't buy that the folks who were there were there to support the NRA. They were there to support themselves.
Okay, but here's the thing. The NRA brings the crowd in. The NRA is the one that organizes the show. The NRA is the one that sends the message out to all these people. People know about if they were just like, hey, I got an idea. Why don't 500 of us get together and rent a place? They're not going to do it. But you get one organization to do it. And the Great Outdoor Show, doesn't the NRA run that too? So, I mean, in a way they are, and in a way they're not. Yeah, okay, maybe they don't like the NRA or they don't support the NRA 100%, but it was the NRA that got them all under one roof. And that we can go there and we can talk to them. You don't have to be all special to go to SHOT Show. You can do the NRA thing and you can actually talk to, I was talking to the president or owners of some of these companies, and we were talking industry. We were talking about manufacturing and stuff like that because we speak the same language. This is a place where you can actually, not just see the newest stuff, but you can actually talk to the people that work in the factory or work in distribution or sales or whatever it is. I had a warranty issue that one of them took care of while I was there. There's all kinds of things, but they wouldn't be under one roof, and the message wouldn't get out to so many people if there weren't the NRA. The NRA doesn't do everything we want, but the NRA does a lot of good stuff. And there are so many people that are butthurt because they're just going to pout like a child and say, I'm not getting my way, cross their arms, stomp their foot. These are the same people that say they don't want to vote or whatever it is. And with everything in life, there's good and bad. The NRA show, I think, is actually a good thing. Bad stuff happened, like, Wayne didn't get deposed, but still, if you're going to look for as much of a pessimist as I am telling you, if you look for the bad and everything and you never look for the good, you're going to be a miserable fuck. All right? There's good in everything. There are things that can be learned and gained from loss and failure and setbacks. So the NRA does a lot of good things.
Speaking of miserable, I'm hoping that this next article makes Facebook just a little bit miserable. John Crump and Gun Owners of America file FEC complaint against Facebook, Agence France Presse, and the Biden-Harris campaign by Dean Weingarten, October 6, 2020. This article originally appeared at MLN.com and is reprinted here with permission. John Crump, a journalist for MLN News and Gun Owners of America, have filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission alleging violations of provisions of the Federal Election Campaign Act of 1971 by Facebook. The complaint alleges Facebook and or Agence France Presse, AFP, and Kamala Harris, the Democrat candidate for vice president, have violated the FEC Federal Election Campaign Act in the following ways. From the complaint: the prohibitions on corporations making in-kind contributions, the limitations on making coordinated expenditures, the prohibition on making independent expenditures without disclaimers and reporting, and the prohibition on foreign nationals making in-kind contributions for the purpose of influencing a federal election. The hostility of Facebook against gun ownership, the right to arms, conservative speech, as well as Republicans, has become a notoriously subjective experience for many Second Amendment supporters. The allegations in the FEC complaint are stark and easily followed. Facebook uses AFP as its official fact-checker, which gives the French government-supported news agency significant power in deciding what is acceptable speech on Facebook for U.S.-based users, particularly as it concerns what is or is not fake news. The fact-checker is supposed to be unbiased in what it labels as false or true. Then it shows a screenshot of something from Concealed Carry as says, what does the new Democratic VP candidate think about guns? And then it shows that the fact-checkers showed false information about a Bearing Arms article that says Kamala Harris doesn't think you have the right to own a gun. The complaint lays out how an article written by Cam Edwards titled "Kamala Harris Says She Supports Your Second Amendment Rights, Her Record Proves Otherwise" on the website bearingarms.com was taken down, technically redirected by overlay by Facebook. The Facebook app would overlay a warning claiming the original article was false information and hijacked interested readers, redirecting these Facebook users instead to an AFP article, "Kamala Harris Does Not Oppose Gun Ownership or the Second Amendment." Facebook searches for the Edwards article were directed to the AFP puff piece, driving Facebook users to the French article filled with less than truthful reporting that failed to mention her history of supporting gun control and limiting Second Amendment rights. MLN News and John Crump reported on this fact when first discovered on August 21, 2020, in an article titled "Facebook Fact Checker Interfering in U.S. Election, Covering for Harris's Gun Control." Another blatant example of the false information flagging was when an article by Texas Director of GOA, Rachel Malone, was shadow banned. The article is entitled "Kamala Harris is the Gun Owner's Worst Nightmare." Multiple screen grabs where Facebook took down other articles about candidate Harris's position on a private right to arms were easily found all over Facebook. And then it shows a bunch of screenshots. In the filed FEC complaint, John Crump and Gun Owners of America, Inc. Federal Election Commission complaint against Facebook, AFP Fact Check, and Kamala Harris for Vice President goes on to detail how Facebook then deleted the personal Facebook account of AmmoLand News contributor John Crump after John attempted to post on the Facebook app a link to the original Kamala Harris court document, or amicus brief, referenced in the Cam Edwards article. That court-filed document, submitted by Kamala Harris in her own words, was once more falsely flagged with the warning. When John called attention to this practice directly with Facebook, his account was shortly thereafter deleted. Didn't John used to work for Facebook? I think he did. What Agence France-Presse conveniently fails to report. The AFP paper does not show official statements from the Harris campaign which deny or reject the positions in the 2008 amicus brief. Instead, AFP interprets the statements as though banning some guns and some gun ownership is not an attack on the right to own guns, but only gun safety measures. The AFP paper takes the same political position as the Harris position, which is essentially the Second Amendment is or should be a paper tiger. They cite the Harris statement in 2018. At a Judiciary Committee hearing on March 2018, Harris called for common sense gun safety laws and said it's a false choice to suggest that you are either in favor of the Second Amendment or you want to take everyone's guns away. No, it ain't. Thus, AFP comes down on Harris's side of a contentious constitutional issue, which has legal scholars on both sides. AFP only cited experts who hold that the Second Amendment rights are extremely limited. AFP did not cite those who hold Second Amendment rights to be broad, such as Eugene Volokh from UCLA or David Koppel of the Cato Institute. This illustrates part of the problem with fact checkers on political questions. Either side can find experts to agree with its own beliefs. When a public forum takes down assertions from one side and only allows publication from the opposite side of an issue, that publication has taken sides. The controversy goes deeper than the opinion of experts on a legal issue. It becomes one of a worldview or philosophy. The articles about Harris's statements on more regulation of firearms in the United States cite her positions and what the writers believe those positions mean for how Kamala Harris will act if she is elected the next Democratic vice president, one 77-year-old heartbeat away from being the president of the United States, or an invocation of the 25th Amendment. They are clear and reasonable interpretations. The AFP paper does not refute the claims of Cam Edwards, Rachel Malone, or John Crump. Instead, they interpret Harris's statements and positions from the same philosophical base as the Harris campaign. Facebook's claims and actions are not transparent or easily followed. The AFP paper never claims Harris approves of a right to own guns, which is what is required to refute the claims of Edwards and Malone. Instead, it says Harris does not oppose all gun ownership. The two positions are far apart. AFP never mentions the difference. Facebook and AFP claim they do not take sides. GOA, John Crump, and the complaint say they do, and are doing so in violation of federal election law. It is a David versus Goliath effort. Facebook is one of the wealthiest and most powerful companies on earth. With only a few weeks before Election Day 2020 and early voting already in effect in some states, Facebook and AFP are exerting their influence on the American presidential election. Let us hope the FEC will hold them accountable. Update. In an ironic twist of timing, the Biden-Harris ticket in an open letter to Facebook on Monday is calling for increased, not less, censorship by Facebook. The World Socialist website, big supporters of the Biden ticket, report the campaign of Democratic Party presidential and vice presidential candidates Joseph Biden and Kamala Harris published an open letter on Monday demanding that Facebook increase political censorship on its platform before the general election on November 3rd. Well, surprise, surprise, surprise. Hopefully this gets some traction, because I, for one, am sick and frickin' tired of Facebook censoring crap like that. Facebook censoring opinions with which they disagree. Yes, I understand they are a private company. Yes, I understand it's their platform, it's their house, all that, all that. However, I think in the modern world, Facebook has become the public square. And that needs to be unbiased and allow the free expression of all ideas, whether you like it or not.
When they try to bounce back and forth constantly between publisher and platform, so they can hide behind the rules on this one, on this case, and then jump over to the other side so they can wield the hammer on this case, and then back. It's, they're one or the freaking other. They can't, hide behind both.
Yeah, they need to pick one and stick with it. But, hey, why not have their cake and eat it too? Midnight Range, I already said that name of the French thingy more times than I wanted to. And no, we were not talking shit about Gunpowder Beauty. Would never do such a thing. I fear for the structural integrity of my throat. JC's stupid username here says, who fact checks the fact checkers? Exactly. That's the problem. Their fact checkers are known to lie like rugs. Ozzy Osbourne's in the house. Hello, how you doing? Warsaw Patriot says, ever tried Parler? Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I have a Parler account. Go on over there and look it up. So there you have it, folks. Hopefully that gains some traction and we can get them squared away. Geez, man, let's move on to some other stuff. I'm going to have to do a little bit of triage here. We were talking about the NRA earlier. This is a piece from the NRA. From NRAILA.org as soon as it loads. If it ever decides to load. There we go. This is from October 5th, 2020. Biden focuses prohibitory ambitions on gun parts, among many, many other gun control items. Ever since he clinched the Democratic presidential nomination, we've been warning America's gun owners that Joe Biden is no moderate when it comes to gun control. Simply scrolling through the extensive gun control agenda published on his official website should make that point abundantly clear. It is a wish list for, and likely compiled by, America's most ambitious firearm prohibition advocates. Biden's gun control plans are so voluminous and detailed that they encompass not just guns themselves, but each of their individual parts. In fact, if Biden has his way, the sale of gun parts over the internet would be banned entirely. If that sounds far-fetched, here's a direct quote from the so-called Biden plan to end our gun violence epidemic. Biden will enact legislation to prohibit all online sales of firearms, ammunition, kits, and gun parts. Those are his words, not ours. All online sales of, not just functional firearms or ammunition or even build kits, but gun parts would be banned under a Joe Biden administration. Think about that. We all know that experienced gun owners like to customize their firearms to their personal preferences and anatomy. We also know that certain high-wear parts will eventually need to be replaced by anyone keeping up his or her skills with regular range practice. What is so threatening about the purchase of innocuous commonplace parts like sights, grips, triggers, handguards, firing pins, choke tubes, plus any number of springs, screws, bushings, or other utilitarian hardware that has to be completely banned from the internet? Pity the gun owner living in rural Alaska, Montana, or Wyoming who just wants to replace their stock grip panels on a revolver so it better fits his hand, or to add night sights to a self-defense pistol, or to change the spread of a shotgun with a new choke. Any of these usually simple operations could necessitate an hours-long round trip to the nearest gun store if Biden has his way. And what if that store doesn't carry the necessary parts, or is open only when the gun owner has to be at work? Under a Biden presidency, the gun owner is simply out of luck. The internet has become an indispensable part of modern commerce. No retail industry could long survive if it were completely purged from the online marketplace. For Joe Biden, however, this terminal outcome would be a feature, not a bug, of his plan to ban all online sales of gun parts. After all, Biden's gun violence plan also seeks to repeal the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. This is the law that is singularly responsible for keeping opportunistic trial lawyers, gun control extremists, and activist judges from conspiring to paralyze America's firearm industry with crippling new forms of civil liability. Biden and his apologists cannot claim, moreover, that he is only trying to ban usable firearms or ghost gun build kits from the online sphere. True, he's trying to ban the use of the internet for transfer of firearms even between licensed dealers, as well as for the sale of unfinished frames or receivers that can, with sufficient tooling and know-how, be used to build a functional firearm. Like this one right here. But all these things are mentioned separately in his published gun control agenda from his plan to ban all online sales of gun parts. Indeed, Biden makes his intentions unmistakable by linking to the website for the so-called Peace Plan, published by March for Our Lives, the gun prohibition group whose spokespersons include ever-opinionated, and usually wrong, David Hogg. We have written separately about the extremism of the Peace Plan. Suffice to say here that it is nothing less than a plan for comprehensive civilian disarmament. On the present topic in particular, its prescriptions include a prohibition on any and all online firearm and ammunition sales or transfers, including gun parts. It is, of course, already true that federal law prohibits the online purchase of a usable firearm for direct shipment to one's own residence. Like any initial retail purchase of a firearm, one that is selected and paid for online must be received in a face-to-face transaction with a federally licensed dealer in the purchaser's state of residence, with the background check, record-keeping, and other formalities common to all dealer sales. Biden, in other words, is not just seeking to close loopholes. He's seeking to purge the industry that sustains our Second Amendment rights from the ordinary channels of modern commerce. Gun owners should beware, because handling the malarkey moderate Joe Biden the power of the U.S. presidency would have potentially irreversible consequences for the right to keep and bear arms. This goes directly to what we were talking earlier about. I'm mad at Trump. I ain't voting for him. I'm going to vote for Joe Jorgensen. I'm going to vote for Billy Bob, whatever. You're dumb as shit if that's what you're doing. Sorry to tell you that, and if you don't like it, unsub. But you're dumb as shit if that's what you're doing. You don't give a damn about the 2A, even less than Trump does. Because by doing that, you're nullifying your vote. That's one vote that's not against Biden and Harris, because remember, Harris will probably end up being the president if Biden gets elected. And they're planning to do this. They're going to do this if they can. That's what you're throwing your vote away and not opposing when you don't vote Trump, because you're mad at him over other shit. You are you're not seeing the forest because you're looking at one particular tree, folks. Am I wrong on that?
You're not wrong. It's a tough pill to swallow. Don't think I don't like it. But it's kind of like when you're in family court and a judge says you can either see your kids 2 hours a week supervised, or you can not see your kids at all. And you're there going, wow, what a choice. It's the same thing sometimes when you go to vote. It sucks, but you got to do what you got to do.
Well, I don't know who this Billy Bob is, but yeah, I'd be willing to take a look at him.
Shut the hell up.
I got to tell you, Budget, when you open this story, I think one of my credit cards in my wallet screamed, because, that's how they get their exercise. Some people, walk their dog. I run my credit cards buying gun stuff online. Yeah, I can't go without that.
Sounds like, the Biden plan more or less is trying to take the California precursor parts bill national.
Yep, that's exactly it. Biden also wants, and I'm looking for the article, but I apparently did not bookmark it, stupid me, that wants to make you pay a $200 tax for each semi-automatic firearm and each magazine over 10 rounds each, and register them and all that good shit. That would cost me over $11,000 just in tax stamps. Crazy. Guy that comments says, sorry, budget, but Billy Bob 2020.
Hey, budget, if Biden gets elected, you better just start shilling like crazy.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Shilling
that's
like
with, throwing your vote away. Then there's states like mine that I'm pretty sure we could have 100% of our population vote Trump. And,
Well, it don't matter what you vote. They've already decided what your vote's going to be.
Yeah, that's the electoral college here would still go to Biden.
Folks,
hook by crook.
How many times have you heard these corrupt American politicians, these gun control advocates, say that they want to bring Australia-style gun control to us? Well, here's where this shit leads. This is from the South Australia Police, keeping South Australia safe. Gel blasters. From 8th October 2020, gel blasters will be declared as a regulated imitation firearm. The sale and possession of gel blasters will be subject to licensing and control under the Firearms Act 2015 and Firearms Regulations 2017 with a 6-month amnesty period. People, and I can't do a convincing Australian accent, so sorry, folks, I'm not going to try to read this like that, but that would be funny. People with gel blasters will be required to obtain a firearms license and registration or hand their unauthorized item into a police station within the amnesty period. Firearms conditions and registration will be the same as for... Hold on one moment. I'm getting stupid notifications. Let me clear that. Okay. Firearms conditions and registration will be the same as for paintball firearms licenses and conditions. You hear that? Paintball firearms. The amnesty period from 8th October 2020 until 7th April 2021. The amnesty will not allow the use, sighting, or firing of gel blasters in any person's possession unless in compliance with the regulatory requirements. They've been granted the appropriate firearms license, granted the license. They've had the firearm registered, and use is limited to a recognized gel blaster venue which holds the same firearms license accreditation as a recognized paintball operator. During the amnesty period, a person who has a gel blaster will be exempt from the code of practice for the security, storage, and transport of firearms. The gel blaster amnesty will allow for the disposal of gel blasters through sale, either to a licensed firearms dealer in South Australia or sale to another person or entity interstate. This sale must comply with all relevant laws to the receiving state or territory. A person can surrender their gel blaster to a police station under any of the following conditions: the magazine removed and empty, battery removed, stock removed if possible. The battery is often housed in the stock. Gel blasters should be carried in a bag or cover to prevent causing concern. So those of you who are wondering, okay, well, what the hell is a gel blaster? According to Wikipedia, a gel ball shooter, gel blasters, also known as gel guns, gel shooters, gel markers, hydro markers, or gel soft, are toy guns similar in design to airsoft guns, but it shoots 6 to 8 millimeter in diameter super absorbent polymer water beads, most commonly sodium polyacrylate, colloquial called water beads, hydrogel balls, gel balls, water bullets, or simply gels, as projectiles, which are often sold commercially as garden moisture retainers. Gel blasters are often played in CQB-style shooting skirmishes similar to paintball by squads or local clubs of enthusiasts, often referred to as gel ballers, but follows an airsoft-like honor-based gameplay umpiring system. Milsim games involving players wearing camouflage and dump pouches are very popular, while speed gel players are more casual with team jerseys and often wear paintball masks. In addition to safety gear such as eye protections, the sport is heavily regulated on the field, and players must adhere to safety rules. The general design of gel blasters is very similar to airsoft guns, usually comprising a coil spring-loaded piston or air pump with a T-piece ahead of the pump outlet to feed gel beads. The spring piston pump is either manually cocked, like a spring piston gun, or more commonly driven by an electric motor gearbox assembly powered by batteries. However, unlike the plastic airsoft pellets or the gelatin paintball capsules, the gel beads are very frangible and will simply fragment if any high pressure is introduced, so the propelling pump is small with a very low pressure output. As a result, gel blasters have a much lower muzzle energy and hence shorter effective range and worse accuracy than most paintball guns, although recently muzzle-mounted frictional hop-up devices have been introduced to impart backspin on the gel beads and try increasing the range of precision. The nature of the gel beads' external and terminal ballistics make them much safer to play with, although protective eyewear is still recommended, and very unlikely to cause any property damage. The gel beads are also very cheap, easily transported in packets, and only require soaking in water for a few hours prior to playing. Another feature is the ease of cleaning, since the gel beads are made up by water in over 98% of mass and volume, and will break upon impact and simply dehydrate into tiny biodegradable slush powder fragments afterwards. So, they're like nerfed airsoft guns. And now, in South Australia at least, they're considered firearms. So do you see the ridiculous bullshit that they want? This is where they want us to go, people. This is where your future, if Biden and Harris get elected, this, right here, this is your future. Do you want that? Is that worth throwing a fucking temper tantrum and I'm not gonna vote. I'm gonna vote for somebody else. Fuck Donald Trump. He ain't 2A enough. Do you want this shit? Get your heads out of your asses. Man, I'm gonna lose a lot of subs over this fucking video.
What in the ever living is wrong with Australia? What the hell? That's your lower muzzle velocity than even a paintball gun, which only has a muzzle velocity about 300 feet per second. Yeah, they sting like a son of a gun, but good lord.
Yeah.
Australia doesn't have gun rights organizations. They didn't after that mass murder that got them to do the ban, and they've had the amnesty since. And they still haven't accounted for all the guns. People buried them. Wealthy people in Australia can own guns because they got money, but they don't have gun rights organizations. So despite the criticism of the NRA or even some of the other ones, I'm glad we've got something. I'm glad we've got multiple somethings.
Yeah, as screwed up as it is, imagine if we didn't have the NRA and the SAF and the USCCA, although they don't do a whole lot of advocacy stuff, they're more training and then the insurance piece. The GOA, FPC, and all the rest, Imagine where we'd be if we didn't have that. Joshua Prince says Joshua Prince says the UN is already talking about putting their troops in America during the election to monitor the election.
Okay, I'm so sick of hearing this UN bullshit. Anybody who believes any of the rumors about the UN controlling America, creating laws in America, changing laws in America, putting troops in America, dictating what, you guys don't know how the world works. So go learn, then come back and tell me if that shit's really real.
Oh, I think they'd like to, but I think that also the U.S. is the tail that wags the dog there. Because all we have to do is stop funding the UN and they're done.
I've worked with the UN before. They're idiots. They couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag.
Yep. This whole the pussification of Australia and the desired pussification of America, well, just dumb as shit. Speaking of dumb as shit.
And now prepare yourself for another tale of stupidity in this episode of Moron of the Week.
First up for Moron of the Week this week is a piece from thecollegefix.com from October 5th, 2020. Harvard student newspaper editors. Trump supporters endorse white supremacy. By Matt Lamb, assistant editor. The student paper at Harvard University has a message not only for the Ivy League institution's college Republican chapter, but by extension, all supporters of President Donald Trump. Supporting Trump is the same as supporting white supremacy. The editorial board of the Harvard Crimson wrote that message in an opinion piece published today after the school's college Republican chapter came out in support of President Trump. The conservative student group reversed a stance taken by its members in 2016 to not endorse Trump, the first time the group had not endorsed the Republican nominee in the club's 128-year history. Not only is it impossible to separate an endorsement of Trump from tacit approval of white supremacy, the paper's editors wrote, it's impossible not to see this endorsement as a provocation of that willfully belittles other students' identity and disregards their safety. At a time when a Harvard instructor is being credibly accused of defending neo-Nazi groups like Identity Europa, the Republican Club's endorsement serves as a further reminder that our campus is not devoid of those who engage white supremacy, the board argued, in reference to an instructor, David Kane, who allegedly wrote racist posts on a blog. It even criticized the college Republicans for disrupting a narrative about reasonable Republicans, presumably meaning Republicans who refuse to support President Trump's re-election. The Harvard Republican Club's 2020 endorsement challenges the narrative of the reasonable Republicans, the board wrote, perhaps most obviously young ones who are educated at liberal institutions, are turning against the president in disdain. It does not portend well for critics of Trump's style of politics, the editors wrote. As young elites make peace with and even come to embrace his style of politics, an important scary truth emerges. The Republican Party's Trumpian elements will continue long after he does. The editorial criticized the debated claim that President Trump failed to denounce white supremacists in last week's presidential debate with Joe Biden. It also accused him of gassing peaceful protesters in June to take a photo in front of a church across the street from the White House. Park police said that they never used tear gas and that some protesters were launching projectiles. In 2016, the college Republican group at Harvard called then-candidate Trump a threat to the survival of the republic and said he had flirtations with fascism, according to the Crimson. Now, the college Republicans have come out in support of Donald Trump. Our conservative and Republican convictions compel us to endorse candidates that will fight for an enduring moral order, protect America's traditions, and prize careful prudence in all decisions for the betterment of Americans, the group said on Facebook. Its September 29th statement praised Trump for taking on terrorist group ISIS, stimulating the economy to achieve low unemployment rates across the board, and for supporting the Second Amendment, among other accomplishments. It also listed several areas of concern that the college Republicans hope Trump will address in his second term. It is our sincere hope that whoever holds the White House going forward will succeed in championing truth, reason, and simply doing what is right for the nation, the Harvard GOP said. So, Harvard Crimson editorial board, you're our first contestants on Moron of the Week. So, Crimson. And last but not least, this piece from Hot Air. Shootings have surged in Portland since a decision was made to defund the police. By John Sexton from October 1st. This is a little bit older, but I didn't get to it then. I'm going to get to it today. Gun violence is up in Portland just a few months after the city council cut funding for the police bureau's gun violence reduction team. The progressives on the council said the GVRT was racist. But now gun violence is up 82% compared to this time last year. There's no way to look at these numbers and not conclude that something has gone very wrong in Portland. Shootings in the city of Portland totaled 110 in September, according to the police. That's a 243% increase over the 32 shootings during the same month in 2019. Thursday morning in the Park Rose neighborhood near Northeast 111th and Sandy, neighbors reported gunfire, and a short time later, officers found someone there dead. They're releasing few details. Wednesday evening, on the last day of September at around 8:45 p.m., a moving gun battle broke out near Dawson Park. It's across the street from Legacy Emmanuel Medical Center and left 58 bullet casings on the street, some from an AK-47 assault rifle, say police. Kimberly Dixon, who volunteers with the police to help people who have been traumatized by violence, said it's clear to her when the change occurred. I think if we go back and take a look at July, which is when we decided to defund the police, we also had the most tremendous uptick in violence. Well, no shit, Dixon said. There were 61 shootings in Portland in June and 103 in July. Portland cut $15 million from the police budget in mid-June. That was substantially less than the $50 million activists had been demanding. Alma Yarborough, who also works with the police crisis team, thinks the elimination of the gun violence reduction team was a huge mistake. So when you take away the piece that's suppressing the gun violence, this is what happens, he said. He added, so I don't believe it was racist at all. I believe they were doing their job. They had a job to do and they were arresting bad guys. Yarborough and Dixon aren't alone in suggesting a connection between the surge in violence and the cuts made by the city council. Last month, Portland's police chief said something similar. The police union also released a statement titled, Recognizing When a Mistake is a Mistake. As we saw in Seattle with the Chaz Chop, it often takes a few bodies before elected officials are ready to admit they've made a mistake. But Joanne Hardesty and Mayor Ted Wheeler clearly aren't there yet. So, Portland City Council, you're our second contestants in Moron of the Week. And that, folks, is that. Those are the two biggest dumbasses I could find this week. And, of course, Vice President Sniffy, Joe Biden, always has his spot. So who do you guys think is deserves the title the most? The editorial staff of the Harvard Crimson, Portland City Council, or Joe Biden just for being Joe Biden? Roll call?
Biden.
One for Biden. Squid?
The Harvard Crimson.
Harvard. 7, who do you think?
For me, I think Portland has been a dark horse for a long time. They definitely deserve it. I'm going Portland. And by the way, Pickle had to leave, but out in the text chat, he said 7. I vote for Portland. Let budget know.
All right.
There's 2.
Pickle
Portland
has one
votes.
for 7. But not 7. Pickle has one for Portland.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Hey, no problem. man. Anytime.
Oh, damn. 7.
Pancake's actually had a good idea. He writes in Harris. I will put Harris in there for her horrible debate performance. So,
I want my vote back then.
okay, who'd you vote for? Harvard?
I'm going to change it from Harvard to Harris.
Okay. So there we have it, folks. Who is it? The Harvard Crimson, Portland City Council, Joe Biden, or Kamala Harris? JC's stupid username here says Biden. So we'll go Biden. Billy Boy says Portland. Guy that comments says Portland. The Hub 1964 says Portland. Joshua Prince says Portland. Ozzy's barking at Portland. JC, stupid username here. Yeah, you can change it. Why not? Pancake says Harris. Guy says Harris. So let me get rid of the one in Portland.
Wait, no.
All right, stop. Here, we will officially start this over right now. In 3, 2, 1. So every vote before this is canceled. So roll call. Who you vote for?
Harris.
Squibby. Harris. 7. Harris.
No, Portland, and so
Portland.
did Pickle.
And so did
Pickle
Pickle.
and I both
Okay.
say
Now,
That's
Portland.
heresy.
so we will go with Portland for boob sweat. Wheeled and Well Armed says Harvard. Ozzy barks at Harris now. JC says Harris. Midnight says Harris. Heels up Harris. Oh, that's funny. Guy says Portland. Hub says Portland. Billy Boy says Portland. So right now we're at 1 for Harvard, 6 for Portland, and 5 for Harris. Anybody else out there want to weigh in on this? Ozzy, I already got you barking at Harris. Joshua Prince says Portland. Zippy says Portland. Lee Brink says Portland. So right now we're at 1 for Crimson, 9 for Portland, and 5 for Harris. Now we're not going to count that absentee ballot. There, 7.
It was worth a shot.
Sean S. says Harris. So we got 9 for Portland, 6 for Harris. I'm going to go ahead and cast my vote for Harris and 1 for Crimson. So going once. Going twice. Giving a little bit of time for the chat to catch up to me talking.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Well, for all you Harris voters...
M. Gabriel says Harris.
M. Gabriel. How dare you? For all you Harris voters, there's going to be plenty more opportunities. Portland deserves the win.
Midnight Range TM says this is a tight race. Insert Harris joke here. I was going to say, if Harris is in it, no, it ain't.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. And we're going to go ahead and call this by your Godcast was mayonnaise. We're going to go ahead and call this Portland City Council is the winner. You are the morons of the week.
And there we had another tale of stupidity in this week's episode of Moron of the Week.
All right.
Yeah, don't despair folks who voted for Harris. I mean, you're going to have more chances.
Yeah, but on that one, you don't want to vote for.
If Midnight Range was able to affect the election results, would that be like some sort of pancake collusion or?
Yes.
No. No, because I do not have collusion with pancakes. Unless they're made with like coconut flour or almond flour or some other sort of low-carb flour, then I might collude the shit out of it. But, yeah. Regular pancakes, no. All right, where am I at? Oh, I know where I'm at. I am at what is Roll Call 219's favorite segment, Self-Defense Shoutouts.
Yay!
For those of you who are new to the show or who have never stuck around to the end, self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the proposition that the bad guy won the room temperature challenge and took a dirt nap. It's where I'm reveling in the proposition that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to keep the bad guy from making them do that very same thing. And first up is this ad. No, first up is this article from NOLA.com. 15-year-old shot while allegedly trying to rob man in Terrytown Sunday night, from October 5th, 2020. A 15-year-old boy was shot twice and his 15-year-old alleged accomplice arrested after the man authorities say they tried to rob at gunpoint pulled out his own gun and opened fire Sunday night. No condition information was available for the wounded boy, who was taken to the hospital to be treated for gunshot wounds to his back and buttocks, according to Captain Jason Rivard, a spokesman for the Jefferson Parish Correctional Center. The attempted robbery occurred just before 9:30 p.m. in the 400 block of West Butterfly Circle in Terrytown. A 22-year-old man was sitting in a vehicle in a driveway when he was approached by the two boys, Rivard said. One of the teens was armed with a handgun and pointed the weapon at the man's head, according to authorities. The man armed himself with his own gun and fired in self-defense, Rivard said. The teen who was allegedly holding the gun was wounded. Deputies who responded to the scene found both teens hiding in a nearby backyard, Rivard said. The pistol brandished by the teen, which had been reported stolen, was also recovered, according to authorities. What? He didn't go to a gun show and buy it? The uninjured teen was arrested and booked as a juvenile with attempted armed robbery. Once released from the hospital, the other teen will be booked with attempted armed robbery, possession of a firearm by a juvenile, and possession of a stolen gun, Rivard said. Good. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, son. That's the way it goes. Next up, this is from newschannel5.com. MNPD, apartment resident takes gun away from and shoots armed home invader. Nashville, Tennessee. This is by Dalton Hammonds from October 24th, 2020. Can't be October 24th. October 4th, okay. Yeah. An armed home invasion suspect finds himself in the hospital after police say the person inside the apartment he was trying to rob took his gun away and shot him. The incident happened just before 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon on Bonnerbrook Drive in Hermitage. A resident of the apartment told police the armed suspect had forced his way inside, but that's when the resident took the suspect's gun away. NNPD say the resident then shot several times at the suspect, causing him to run away from the scene. A person matching the suspect's description walked into Summit Medical Center a short time later with gunshot wounds to his shoulder and hip. So good, snatch it off him and give it back. Pointy end first. Next up, this is WYFF4.com. Deputy third person captured after this ad. Third person captured after homeowner shoots suspect during attempted break-in, deputies say. This is from, when's it from? From Anderson, South Carolina, but when? October 6, 2020. Anderson County deputies captured a third suspect Tuesday evening after a homeowner shot a suspected burglar trying to break into a home. The shooting was reported about 9:30 a.m. when 3 people tried to break into a home in Walker Circle, deputies said. That is near Liberty Highway, north of the city of Anderson. There were 3 people the homeowner had caught and he believed were breaking in, said J.T. Foster with the Anderson County Sheriff's Office. One of the suspects made a move towards him and he felt threatened, so he fired at least one time, striking one of the suspects. The other 2 suspects ran from the scene, deputies said. Deputies brought in canine officers and ATVs to track the other suspects. It's absolutely one of the most difficult tasks around, said Foster while discussing the hardships that come with tracking in heavily wooded areas. Not only are you worried about not being attacked by someone you may find in the woods, but you got to watch your step for poisons, plants, and snakes. Deputies said they found and captured the second suspect, a woman, shortly after the burglary, who is being detained. The suspect who was shot by the homeowner was taken to AnMed Health, but his condition is still unknown. The homeowner declined to go on camera and wished to remain anonymous, but did speak to reporters off camera. Bums and thieves who come on my property to steal, if I have to defend myself, if I have to disable your vehicle, if I have to disable you, I'll do it, said the homeowner. Stay off my property. No other information was immediately released. Next from Fox23.com, Broken Arrow homeowner shoots suspected burglar. From October 7th, 2020. Broken Arrow police say they're investigating shooting near the 7,000 block of South Ash Place. Police say they initially responded around 8:50 p.m. to the home for a suspected burglary. After arriving on scene, they say they learned the homeowner was shot. The homeowner shot the male suspect, who was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Police say the burglary suspect was shot 2 times by the homeowner in the upper torso. The suspect has been moved to the recovery room at the hospital. Police say the suspect is in custody for first-degree burglary charges. The homeowner did know the suspect. BAPD say the community isn't in any danger. This wasn't a random occurrence. Which makes me have to wonder exactly what that was about. You know, if it involved drugs or what. But that's just blue sky speculation. At the bottom line of it, somebody defended themselves against a scumbag. And last but most certainly not least, from newschannel10.com by, I don't know who it's by, let me see, by Caitlin Johnson from October 8th, 2020. Amarillo, Texas. Amarillo police say a resident shot a suspect who was breaking into their home earlier this week. Early morning on October 6th, officers were called to a home near Southwest 4th Avenue and South Kentucky Street for a shooting. The resident told officers they were awakened by someone inside their house. The resident shot at the suspect, and the suspect ran from the home. Police say they found blood at the scene and items left by the burglar. Police identified the suspect as 26-year-old Francisco Javier Solis Jr. Officers found him at a home on Kentucky Street, and police say he had an injury to his arm consistent with a gunshot wound and evidence linking him to the burglary. He was treated medically and arrested for burglary of a habitation. He has been booked into the Potter County Detention Center. So good. There we have it, several instances where the good guy had the means to defend themselves against the bad guy, despite what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want them to have. Which is not shit. So we're at the end of this train ride, folks, or maybe it's a train wreck. I don't know. It's something anyway. But like all good things, this too must come to an end. I want to thank my illustrious and esteemed panel for coming and hanging out. Let me give a plug to Calaveras 32 Special and thank him for being here earlier. He had to bail, but was glad to see him be able to make it for a bit, and love to have him back anytime he's welcome. Speaking of love to have him back anytime he's welcome, let's say hello to and goodbye to Roll Call 219. Where can they find you, Ro? Where, plug your stuff and anything else you want to leave us with.
You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram under Roll Call 219. I got some videos coming out this week. Don't forget about the giveaway I'm doing for the 700 subscriber giveaway. Got everything put together for that. So that will be coming out as well. I'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Whether I make it or not, I don't know. It's solely up to you people out there watching on replay or live in the chat that's not subscribed. Like always, catch you on the next one. And Budget, thank you for having me.
Always welcome, brother. So, Salmon Peak Polo wearing Squib, is there anything that you would like to leave us with or anything you'd like to plug, sir?
No, I guess just understand this. Sometimes there's strategy involved. It's not always, you don't always get what you want, but sometimes in life it's no, I just can't talk about it. I'll just go on forever. Thanks for the invite.
All righty, man. You are always welcome. 7, is there anything you'd like to leave us with, sir?
Hey, Budget. Oh, am I here? No, I'm kidding. No, thanks again for having me on. I think it was a great chat as always, and not blowing smoke, but yeah, you're still my favorite chat. Sorry, Midnight, and all you other folks who have chats. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here, and yeah, fasten your seatbelts, boys and girls. 7's about to start doing the videos again. We finally, been working on it for 2 years, finally found an outdoor range where we can shoot for free, which is pretty cool. It's not much, but yeah, we're gonna do some silly stuff. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna start doing the videos again. So
awesome, man. Looking forward to seeing it. Speaking of looking forward to seeing it, I'm looking forward every week to seeing you guys out there in the chat. Particularly those of you who've been here from start to finish, for the entire 2 hours, almost 2 hours, I always say I'm humbled and amazed, but that's because it's true. You guys could be doing any damn thing you want to on a Friday night, and you're here listening to this. And, when I first started doing this, I honestly didn't think I'd be doing it very long. I figured nobody would listen, nobody would pay attention, and I'd just get tired of talking to myself. but I'm glad that I'm here talking with you guys. We've talked about some things today that really demand our attention. It really demands us to stand up on our hind legs and let our voices be heard, with this honey badger thing, with the potential to spread to all pistol braces, with its potential to spread and escalate to other aspects of our liberties. It's now more important than ever to get our asses out there in November and vote. And frankly, vote the Second Amendment, because if you vote any other way, you're throwing away your Second Amendment rights this time for sure. I know there's a lot of people out there fear-mongering with this, and that's definitely what everybody accuses the NRA and the other gun rights organizations doing for fundraising. But you know what? I'm not making a damn dime off of this. I just want to protect our Second Amendment, because our Second Amendment protects every other amendment in the Bill of Rights. Contact your Congress critters and elected representatives. Let them know what you think. Send them a snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, heliograph, semaphore, bicycle messengers, tom-toms, anything you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. And I'll talk to you guys on the next one.
Are we still here?